Well, everybody, this is Neil, quote, the mechanic. You must have trained in the blue ones.
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite blue one to work on?
Not really, no. You work on that many of them, you sort of
Anyone except the 7060.
well, anyone maybe except this particular one, yeah.
What all do you think the 190 needs done to it? Just asking for a friend.
Well, she's just about to turn 10,000 hours, so with a TM, especially a 190, better to do the head up on her and check out the rest of the engine. So that'd be one of the main things to do to her. You know, they would have a tendency to drop a valve at high hours, so they would.
Oh, and would a wee bit of preventative maintenance now help that?
Oh, yeah, would do.
So there's a possibility at some point you could be in there and through that to the elbows.
Probably.
I wouldn't mind seeing that if that ever materialises. Great tractor. Mystified that I didn't get it in my way with this one. But look, we bought this 7060 with the full package, i.e. going through it from head to toe, because it was identified by yourself and David that at 7,500 hours, the tractor has done a good bit of work. It's time to check and make sure a few things, and everything has to be working before it goes on to a new home. So, start us at the front. We had an issue straight away at the front with the PTO. What was wrong there?
The drive shaft that runs from the front crankshaft pulley to the front PTO clutch pack was away on it. There was a bearing had collapsed and the drive was gone. So basically there was no drive going to the front PTO. So we had to replace that shaft, so we had to lift the radiator out. And
so right up at the front, so that was issue number one, shaft.
The PTO, once that was sorted, we changed the oil in the PTO clutch pack and then run the PTO on the dyno to make sure she wasn't slipping or anything, you know. So we had her pulled down to about 100 horsepower, which is plenty, you know. So.
No, taking 100 horsepower out of a front PTO unit, yeah, that would be plenty. And moving back then, in and around the engine was left alone, but you did split the tractor at the front.
Yes, at the bell housing.
Yes.
Usually with tractors getting that sort of hours, especially these big tractors, there's a spring damper unit in the flywheel. That's basically your connection from the engine to the rest of the tractor. And if that goes, nothing works. No steering, no hydraulics, nothing at all. So it had never been split before. So we thought we'd go in there and check to see what it was like, and that was starting to go. There's springs falling out of it and stuff. So
yeah, and we could actually see that when you had it out on your bench of our parts, our parts bench over there. You could see the springs starting to give. So. Yeah. But you took the flywheel out as well.
Flywheel out.
Cleaned it off.
And there was, because I could see black oil behind the flywheel, I took that off and the rear crankshaft oil seal was leaking. So I replaced that, and then because it was leaking, I automatically went to the rotor cover where the breather is, because that must have been blocked and causing pressure on that, so replaced that as well. Needed a new rotor cover gasket as well, because that was flat at one side and leaking. So it was, so that was done as well.
Okay.
Serviced, basically the usual service we do on the engine and stuff, you know.
Serviced, new filters, always good to go. Then at that point I appeared in with this pipe.
Yeah.
And I said, Neil, put that on. Which led to another problem.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we couldn't get the old pipe off the elbow, but apart from that, the elbow was rotten around the bottom. So that was going to be no use. I was blowing smoke out everywhere, so we replaced the elbow and then fitted the noisy exhaust.
The noisy exhaust. And the cover, I've actually took it,
Yeah.
because it was a tricky wee boy for two reasons. It was a shocking price, one, and two, we were going to be into a bit of waiting, bit of a lead time on it. So we screwed that off. I took it up to Johnny Blakely, who's going to do a wee bit of tidying, and I said, fix. And then I walked away.
Yeah.
So outside of that, I don't know. So we've put that pipe on, so she's, for want of a better words, from the bell housing forward, she, at this stage, you were happy, she was tickety-boo.
Yeah.
She was, engine was running clean, running nice, running well. Then you split her at the back.
Yeah. Pulled the half axles off to check the brakes. So it had, one side of the brakes was nearly perfect, and the other side was starting to pick up, starting to break up, which you would get on tractors that don't seem to wear the brakes evenly, you know, it's either one side or the other, you know, so we replaced the discs. So it had, and while the half axles were off, we lifted the hitch off her, pulled the PTO out, checked the PTO clutch pack. It had been engaging very sharp, so it was very coming in with a bang. So checked the plates and that, they were okay. So I had to replace the PWM valve for the engagement of the PTO, because that was causing the problem. So while we had the PTO out, we lifted the diff out as well and checked the bearings and that, and they were okay. So we built that all back up, PTO back into her, hitch on, new brakes and her half axles back on. So it has, so.
Okay. And the carrier bearing, did you say as well?
Yeah.
But that wasn't needed, but
It wasn't
you did
needed,
it anyway.
but it's done as a precautionary measure, because if it goes, it can cause a lot of damage. So the bearings were good, but
And what is a carrier bearing?
well, it's basically the front suspension runs through a pivot point at the back, and your four-wheel drive shaft has to run through that as well. And there's a short shaft that's supported by two bearings, and they can dry up and collapse, and that causes issues.
What about the infamous New Holland problem of 50k bearing?
Not really a problem in these tractors, so it's not.
Why?
Short wheelbase tractors are a different setup. It's just a ball bearing,
Okay.
and it would be more prone to collapsing, whereas these are on a big heavy roller bearing. And
Oh, so that the 70 series by default is just, for want of a better word, stronger in that department?
stronger, yeah.
Okay. So we're heading towards the stage of the mechanicals pretty much sorted. Now you need it to check, was it like functionality and stuff, and then you developed, I remember he saying to me there was an issue with one of the spool valves wasn't working. This tractor has
It's 5 spool valves.
5. So we had to put a new slice on.
Yeah, now it was number 5 that wasn't working. It doesn't have its own lever, it's just on a switch.
Because I was going to say there is only 4 levers
Yeah,
up there.
that's on a wee rocker switch, so it is, so you just have power both rows, no float, but it wasn't working. So we had to, after looking at it for a while, we had to change the slice, put a new slice on it. So that's it replaced, and all 5 spools are working now.
And coming from that as well, you were explaining to me, of course, whenever we came up, we jumped in it and we drove it, we seen the joystick. Naturally, the head thought there was a mid-mount, but there isn't.
No. The
But
joystick,
you've left it as good.
aye, the joystick, you can switch your main spool valves onto the joystick for handiness, just on your seat, you know, so you can work all 4 spools off the joystick. So we plumbed in the front linkage pipes and behind spool valve couplings on number 1, number 2 spool, so it's more usable. You can still use your 5 spools if you want, plus you still have your front linkage
can
powered
change
up.
and go to the hitch. And then one of the next things, if I have got this right and I possibly am missing something here, you weren't happy with the steering.
No, well, first of all, the steering column felt very loose.
That was Gary and I did notice that now when we went for the test drive.
So that needed the wee damper that you use for adjusting the tilt of the steering wheel, so I had to replace that. Plus the steering, whenever the tractor was warmed up and took for a run, I took over the steering was very heavy, so that was a steering pump issue, so we had to change the steering pump, which cured that. So it did.
And then, at that stage, you had her ready for a couple of cosmetic changes, well, and functional changes. Cab bushings.
Cab bushings, yeah.
And that's a big thing. That's something that doesn't take maybe a wee bit of technical effort involved in that, the way you hit the cab.
Weight of the cab, diesel tanks, all that has to be taken into account. There's a lot of stripping at it. So there is, and then it's the pressure involved in pushing out the bushings and setting the new ones in. They need to be pressed. Is
that just like letting you step back into a new tractor?
Definitely, if you drove a tractor before, you felt like the cab was swaying you all over the place, whereas now it's a lot tighter, a lot steadier on the road.
And when you got that sorted and the diesel tank back on, and because you had the diesel tank off when you had her split, if I remember correctly, and then you were doing all of that sort of as part of the process. But when you got her all back together, then there was a twist in one of the front mud guards, and they needed new bearings.
Yeah.
I know it's the simple things, and you put new skins on, but for a couple of wee bearings, and that, it's just straightened it right up. And that was one of the things Gary and I said when we first came in. You could see straight away, just the, the difference.
New mud flaps and the mud guard straighten up does help the tractor. It makes the world of difference to it. Makes it look far straighter.
And then, on a final note, the front hubs to the brakes changed as well. Is that a big job? It's not something you hear talked about much.
No, it's not. It's not a big job. It's just basically lifting the front plate off the hub there, and it's just in there behind the plate. A lot of people wouldn't really know that there's brakes in there unless they're told, and they sort of maybe get overlooked a bit. So they do. But now we pulled the brakes out, and they were starting to break up a wee bit, so replaced them, new oil in, and that was that done.
And when you got her all back together, I was up myself, and we said we would put her on the dyno just to see what she was doing. And true to her word and what we had thought, she had never been touched. She was running a lovely 220 odd horsepower, if I remember correctly, there or thereabouts.
And around that, yeah.
And that day I arrived with another wee box of goodies, and I said, Neil, fit these.
Yeah.
And it was the UTV lights, and they were meant, they come in nearly direct replacement. What was your thoughts whenever you get those on?
I thought they were a good job. I thought they fitted well. So they did, especially the ones on the roof. I think they look very good. So they do.
And are you impressed with the light from them?
Oh yeah. There's a good difference between the original lights.
Because we were sort of wanting this tractor to be old school cool, but able to do modern work, and that was sort of our angle, and that was the reason the Sway went from the 190 to this tractor. Air brakes, and it has a early IntelliView screen, and in theory electric. It has electric spools, and I know people say they give a lot of trouble. It in theory has ISO bus, so it's a tractor that's pre-AdBlue with putting out good horsepower at 220 and air brakes, so capable for the likes of our Smith trailer, etc. And compact. Do you think she'll do all that we're looking her to do?
Oh, I think so, yeah. I think there's plenty of life left on her yet.
And you didn't leave her at 220 though, let's be honest.
No,
you had to play with your laptop.
I had her, she's set up a little bit, so she has.
And as far as you're concerned, how happy are you with how she's performing as we've drive her out the gate?
I'm very happy with her. I think she's come along well, eventually.
Was she on a scale of normal? you know, here at Slemish Tractors, because there's a lot of blue tractors goes through your hands in the length of a year. Was she a tricky one, or was she just at that stage where she needed a bit of work?
She was just at that stage, so she was. She has just got to that sort of hours where there's stuff starting to fail on her and problems developing, and they needed sorted. But
well, look, Neil, thank you very much for your help and your work on it. I know you were under pressure a wee bit with us with the cameras, and I know it wasn't your usual job having a camera too, but she does look the part. She's sitting here in her raw state. She got a new mud guard because there was a bit of an issue with the mud guard. Gary tried to hide that with his hand, if I remember correctly. And we're going to hopefully take her, use her just a little bit, maybe on a silage wagon, just see that all systems are going when she gets under a little bit of load, and then set of tyres for her, and then straight take it tidied up at Johnny's, new stickers and all for her. And hopefully one of the next times you guys see this tractor, she will be sitting like a new pin. But look, Neil, thank you very much. I think your work was excellent. I think the video will show the standard of work that we carried out on this tractor, and to you and the whole team. And we're looking forward to have a bit, hopefully just a bit of crack with her now, and plenty of power. And I have no idea how long I'll be able to listen to her inside the cab for, but we'll have a go. Good man, thank you.
thank you.